Well, he's been missing from our lineup for a while, but there's been no shortage of targets for his attacks. Official opposition leader Andrew Scheer joins me in the studio. Nice to have you back. You know, Happy New Year, Merry Christmas, and all that stuff. Anyway, I'm
sorry. To pop in regularly. Absence makes the
yes, makes the heart grow fonder. Listen, this Jody Wilson-Raybould story. I've got to get your latest uptake. The Trudeau apologized, and then Jody Wilson-Raybould stood up and said, "I'm looking forward to speaking my truth." What do you think's going to happen next? Can you predict this one?
No, and we're not trying to guess what might be coming next because this whole affair has been going on for 2 weeks now. Daily change in message from Justin Trudeau. He's been blaming everybody just about, except for the people that have actually taken the fall now. Gerald Butts, he still somehow is trying to pretend that he didn't do anything wrong. So we'd like to get to the bottom of this. We're tired of Liberals speaking for Liberals and getting together behind closed doors and coming up with a damage control strategy. They shot down our attempts to get the Justice Committee to shine a light on this. They voted against the public inquiry today. Yep. So we're going to continue to put pressure on them to allow people to speak for themselves and some kind of an independent process to get to the bottom of this.
All Trudeau has to do is say, we're lifting the privilege and it's done, right? Yet he's been sitting there with his lawyers for a week and can't seem to figure out.
Yeah, I don't know what kind of legal team he has advising him, but I would have imagined that they would have come back with some kind of direction on this. I've heard from some in the legal community that have suggested that because he's been speaking about it anyway, and he's been speaking about events that she was involved in, he's essentially waived that. Now, I leave it to Ms. Wilson-Raybould to make that determination on her own. But because of the seriousness of these allegations, it's now clear that the decision not to grant SNC-Lavalin a special deal was made on September 4th. The meetings that Justin Trudeau and Gerald Butts had with Ms. Wilson-Raybould happened after that decision was taken. So clearly, they were seeking some kind of a change in policy. Why meet with your Attorney General if the decision's already been made and the independent prosecutors charted its course?
That sounds like it's almost going to be a direction as opposed to a pressure or nudge. I mean, do you think that pretty much connects the dots between a decision they didn't like and then hoped intervention by the Attorney General?
Well, again, you're quite right to point out, if we just look at the facts that everyone can agree upon, September 4th, SNC-Lavalin is told that they won't be getting one of these deals. September 17th, Ms. Wilson-Raybould feels compelled to ask if she still has ownership of the file, and the Prime Minister has to say, it's your decision. Why would she have to say that if there wasn't any kind of confusion about that? December 5th, Gerald Butts meets with her and tells her to go talk to the clerk of the Privy Council, and then she loses her position in January. Those are the facts everyone agrees on. So again, when you have a Prime Minister today in question period, 24 questions, I was asking him yes and no questions. Did this happen? When did he find out? He couldn't answer any of them. He just went back to the talking points. When someone is innocent, they have no problem answering questions. They have no problem inviting people to come and testify because they have nothing to hide. Clearly, something's going on here.
But he did keep going back to the idea of, I don't think he referred to it jobs directly. He seemed to be more concerned that this is something we're working to keep the economy going. And there are a lot of jobs at stake on this SNC file. If they go through the court process and lose the contracts, then the company could very well be in jeopardy, and these jobs could be in danger of being lost. Do you support in principle the idea that deferred prosecutions could be done? It's just, in this case, it's a question of whether the Prime Minister had intervened.
Well, it's a question of who decides. Parliament passes laws all the time about what judges can sentence people to. They can give them suspended sentences, conditional sentences. Judges can sentence people to go to anger management and addictions counseling as a condition of them not facing a conviction. But politicians don't pick up the phone and tell the judge what to give. And that's what we're talking about here. The Liberals changed the law to allow these special deals to be made. The independent top prosecutor in Canada came to the conclusion that based on the way the law was written, SNC-Lavalin didn't qualify. At that point, for Justin Trudeau to step in and try to get a different outcome, that is where the allegations of obstruction come in. What's at stake here is the integrity of our rule of law. The idea in this country that the powerful and the well-connected can get special treatment is one we have to be very vigilant to get against. That creates a very dangerous precedent in our country that we don't want to go down.
Could a Prime Minister Andrew Scheer in that position see a way to do that for a corporation if they said a court conviction, loss of contracts, we're out of here? Could you see that there is a usefulness to that plan? Or
I don't believe there's an appropriate role for an elected official, a politician, to get involved to that degree where they're basically telling an independent prosecutor, give them something else. When courts, when judges, when Crown prosecutors make those determinations based on the law, based on their knowledge of the file, politicians don't step in and we allow the course of justice to proceed. And that's the key difference here is the tools were given to the Director of Public Prosecutions. It was up to her to decide whether or not SNC-Lavalin qualified or not up to the Prime Minister based on the lobbying efforts of a company.
I'm almost out of time. Quickly, do you have any regrets about addressing the convoy, given there was so many yellow vest sort of fractions within that convoy that may be unsavory?
You know, this entire event yesterday and today was about real people who are facing just terrible circumstances in Alberta, Saskatchewan, and Western Canada. And they made the trek from starting in Calgary all the way to Ottawa. The event yesterday was about that, was about showing support for pipelines. It was about showing support for our energy sector and my expression of support and understanding and compassion for what they're going through. I don't think it's fair to allow some other elements. Of course, we condemn any elements that were saying something intolerant, but we have to keep focusing on what it actually was.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Andrew Scheer.